Hey everybody, it's almost an agreement time. Max, AC, and I are sitting together in the room. Like, Max is actually here. You don't have to listen to a phone call.
Word.
So.
Or snoring.
And it hasn't happened in a long time.
It's been a few weeks.
So anyway, we're almost in agreement. Almost in agreement at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also go to our website, almostinagreement.com, and catch all the episodes there or on your favorite podcast provider. While you're at any of these great sources, please take the time to like, share, subscribe, whatever the term is for that place, whatever, to get us on. It helps us get more traction, get more people to hear about us. If you somehow find a podcast provider that doesn't have us, give me an email at almostinagreement@gmail.com, and I'll see if I can figure out how to get it on there for you. Other than that, I don't think of everything specific going on. We're trudging through another summer of madness, so we'll talk about that and whatever else we figure out. So, almost in agreement. Here we go. What's up, fellas?
How did you pay for the sound on that again? Like, how did you do that?
What?
The intro sound.
I wrote it.
No, really, how'd you do it?
I mean, I wrote it.
What do you mean you wrote it?
I mean, it's a sample set out of GarageBand, but I created it as a tune out of GarageBand samples. Do I need to explain?
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
This is GarageBand that you see on the screen right now.
There's nothing on the screen. It's black.
Sorry, I didn't turn your guys' TV on. But anyway, yeah, GarageBand is it's an Apple Music product. I used it for recording on the show, but it has a whole thing where you could create music in it.
Are you buying a wedding dress?
No, I'm buying a flower girl dress. I don't know. I was looking at shit on Facebook.
Why is he buying a flower girl dress?
Is there something we need to know about one of your children?
Jesus Christ. I don't know why I share anything with you guys. Yeah, I could squeeze in that for sure. I was on here earlier promoting the Nine-Liner show that's yesterday for the people listening. But, yeah, it was a good time. You guys should have been there if you weren't.
Go. Check it out.
Go yesterday. Well, anyway, I created it on GarageBand.
Okay.
Out of joy to get us something better than the first version that I created in GarageBand.
What was the first version? I don't remember.
I don't have it on here anymore.
That's unfortunate.
I don't even remember what it was.
It was a lot.
We would have given a shit about it regardless whether it was good or bad anyway.
Right. It was gloomy. I remember it was kind of gloomy. That's the feel I get from you guys. So, yeah, that was it.
No, that's an internal thing because you made it without us.
Yes.
So it's an internal thing.
I guess. It's what I feel like on the inside.
You're
whenever
projecting.
You guys are all here. You're gonna come here and make fun of me.
No, that was the first thing I noticed, man. Like, you vacuumed in here. It's good.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell as bad either.
Yeah. The dog really likes to. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, from when I was on vacation, especially over here in this corner. This is his. I don't want to go to my box.
Dude, he about chewed my fucking leg off. Did I tell you this?
No.
So, maybe the third day, I guess, that he was gone, he runs in here, sits his ass down. I come in here, I'm like, hey, man, let's go. He's not having any of it. So, like, okay, it's like 15 minutes later. I'm like, man, I got shit I got to do. Like, time to go. Wasn't listening. So, when got the Swiffer, went toward him with the Swiffer, and, like, his teeth were out like I was trying to assassinate the president, and then tore a fucking hole in the Swiffer. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I text Sam, and I was like, hey, dude, is there any sort of voodoo magic you can get this damn dog upstairs? Because, like, Seth's going to be pissed, but, like, he's not moving. He's going to have to stay here. Eventually, I stood up on that chair that he's sitting in and had the Swiffer behind him to move him out of here. It was fucking nuts. Like, I was like, man, he's going to fucking chew my leg off.
I mean, he'll get, like, I don't know. I haven't done it with a broomstick, but he'll do that to me too. Like, I've done it where he doesn't, like, where we're going out to do something and he needs to go in his box and he knows what's going on. He's like, nah, I don't want to do that. But he's showed teeth to me and stuff like that before.
What do you do?
He's never bit me. I just grab him and move him. But he's never actually bit me. But, you know.
What would you do if he did?
Punch him in the face.
Okay. Good answer.
I mean,
in the most humane way possible.
Well, I mean, you're not trying to kill him, but at some point, if you let him do that once, he'll fucking rule this place.
Yeah, he knows. I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, And I get a little jumpy when he does that with the kids. Like he'll be doing, like the kids will be trying to move him off the couch or something like that, and it's like, and so I don't know. I've had to.
That's when you go make him look at the flowers.
I've had to had him look at the flowers
I get your
from underneath.
No, it's
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
He takes a little girl out and she's like, look at the flowers, and puts a bullet in her head.
Oh, it's been a while. I haven't watched that.
The reference.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've had to at least lay hands a few times to be like, hey man, that's not how this works.
Well, and I don't condone like cockfighting and that sort of shit. But I mean, at some point you got to figure out a way to discipline animals.
Yeah, I mean, he is incredibly smart with how dumb he acts, but he is incredibly smart. Like there's a handful of things he knows exactly what he's doing and exactly how to get what he wants out of the situation, and it's really frustrating.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. But that's one of the moves. Like, I mean, to go back, that's one of his moves. He hides here in the corner, and maybe you'll miss me on the way out the door, and I can roam the house free while you're gone, or whatever.
The next day that I let him out, before I let him out, I moved the couch in front of this little entryway, and I was like, okay, well, if it's blockaded off, he won't get in here.
No, he just went over the couch.
He just fucking Mr. Eds over the damn couch.
Yeah. He cares not. He has his ways.
So third day, we went out on a leash. I'm like, fuck it, you're not running around, dude. Because I'm happy to play with you, but I got about 45 minutes. That's about it.
Yeah.
So
well, I appreciate the effort and apologize for the stressors.
Jesus Christ, it wasn't a streak. So wait a minute. So I can text you about that shit yesterday, and you can tell me to fuck off, but you're doing the same thing to me. Is that what you're saying?
No.
That's exactly what that was.
Because mine is in post in appreciation for what you did do instead of, it doesn't have to be, don't make a big deal, it's not a blah, 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 don't put yourself out for it. It's like, I told you I'd fucking do it, shut up and let me do it.
So I already did it, so why are you still talking about it?
What?
I already did the thing for him, so why are you talking about it?
We were talking about it because...
Being appreciative, I mean.
I've just appreciated it. You've
already said that, though.
But
so
you've never...
what's the difference?
Well, it's pre and post is what the difference is.
What's the difference between whether
you ask for a favor, I say yes, and then there's this big, sappy, it's big, I don't want to be a big deal or whatever, where when I asked you to watch the dog, I was like, hey, can you watch the dog? You said, yeah. And that was it. I didn't make a big deal out of, don't put yourself out or anything.
Well, now you're making a big deal out of it after the fact.
I just think it's weird.
What's so weird about it?
I just pay one of my older kids $200 to stay at the house for the week. That's what I do.
Oh, well. He doesn't have older kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they came with me.
Yeah.
That's right.
Either one.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one's staying at the house this week?
Right. We're going on vacation. You're in charge of the house.
What the hell is that? Is that a leaf?
Yeah, it's
or a dog's ass.
It's some weird little, I don't know. We've had it forever. It was on top of the bookshelf, and when I was cleaning and reorganizing yesterday, I was thinking about moving the bookshelf, and then I got a room. Side note, that's your doorknob. I left that there for you. I assumed you have.
Does it go to the RV?
No, from the Dutch door.
Oh yeah, I don't need the door.
Okay, I didn't know if it was part of the set of keys because usually those outside doors.
I thought you were talking about. I thought it was for Powell.
Oh no,
because the bathroom. I was like, it has an issue with this thing sticking in.
No, I don't know. We can see if it'll work, but
no, that's not the problem though.
Because most times when they build the house or whatever, all the external doors have the same lock. Mm-hmm. And so I figured you might want to keep that if you have that key for a bunch of different doors.
No, we switched all those.
Okay.
That was the door from the kitchen to the garage.
To the master now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know if you wanted it for the locking's sake just because, but...
Thanks.
Say that as... I thought I was...
No, I'm saying thanks. I didn't.
I legitimately have been holding on to it for 2 weeks just to make sure you didn't want it.
He holds shit forever, too. You better be careful.
This is fancy, though. We got a refrigerator in here now.
Yeah. It's not well stocked yet. I've got some giant ice cubes for whiskey, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, is it a refrigerator or a
what
freezer?
What the hell happened to this guy?
It's a fridge freezer.
Like he vacuumed and he has a fridge?
I got it cheap. That's what happened.
Jesus Christ.
So in today's episode of Let's Make Fun of How Cheap Seth is, and how well he can speak English. I don't know. What's going on in the world, fellas?
Went to the farmer's market this morning.
Yeah?
It's pretty good.
Pretty good? Which one?
Market Square.
Okay.
Did you eat some vegetables?
Did.
I was going to go to that stadium block party, but it's right now. And so.
Well, the lady friend mentioned that. She's like, I'm surprised you guys are not going down there for that. I'm like, I think maybe Sam's got to work and Max might have something. I think Jennifer's got something going on tonight. So I was like, I think that's why they're not doing that whole thing. But I think it came up in a group text. I thought that had come up. Maybe I was just making that shit up. But
Yeah, I put it on the Facebook event. Like, I put that I was interested in it, and I was going to go. I was going to drag the kids along just for something, for something
What
to
is
do
it?
because they had a bunch of stuff. It's they're calling it a block party, but it's kind of like
it's a rah-rah session for this baseball stadium downtown.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
The
really.
parking lot underneath James White, right on the edge of Old City.
Yeah.
They've got like a bunch of booths set up, a bunch of the different people, whether it's from the gym developers or from the Smokies or from the Boyd Sports Organization, as well as some different city and county officials. And I don't know if like they officially have the Sports Authority represented there or not, but it's supposed to be it's billed as like a Q&A session. You can come down and hang out. They're gonna have some food trucks there. Bring the kids. It'll be a good time. But you can actually talk to some of the different people and get some direct questions answered and stuff like that. I was just gonna go down and hand out business cards and talk a little bit, but try to meet a couple.
Well, it looks like they're just starting construction on that, right? It looks like they were like clearing out some.
I mean, my understanding of what is that Boyd guaranteed that he was going to raise the property no matter what. So right now they're just demoing everything that's on the properties that will go to the stadium if the stadium gets approved through the.
I thought it was already approved.
No, the Sports Authority's approved.
I don't understand. Clarify what that means.
Okay. The Sports Authority is a joint body that was appointed by the county. I guess it was appointed by the county mayor and the city mayor, and then approved by the county commission and the city council. So it's like a 9-person group that's charged with going through the actual specific financials and all the specific rules and all the different little whatever, and to take what Manitow and the Boyd Sports Group is putting together and be the community adjuster before it goes to council and commission for approval, and that's when the money starts happening.
When is that happening?
Late August, I think, is when it's supposed to have some sort of deadline.
It's a formality at this point.
It is.
It is, because the city would be stupid not to do that.
Well, and there's enough. I mean, he's got enough political capital. He could almost put a damn strip club down there if he wanted to. Really.
Right. I mean, there's
is there not going to be a strip club in the baseball stadium? Is that what you're doing?
Be better than
I thought
the
that was
dugout.
part of.
Yeah.
But Amelia Parker in the city has been pretty actively against it. But other than that, the city council seems to be on board for the most part. Like I had Seema in earlier this week, and we talked a little bit about it, and it's just she's on the same page. It's a matter of how. Not a matter of if. It's how exactly are we doing it? What are the things that we as a community are going to be guaranteed to get out of it? That kind of stuff. This needs to be a direct benefit for that immediate community and the people that live down there and stuff like that. But it also needs to grow the city and blah 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 blah. And so it's all those little whatever those determining factors are by the individuals that get to actually ask those questions or what's happening right now.
I don't remember if we talked about it, if we did or not, or you guys talked about it without me. It was a few weeks back where our city mayor made national news on the Fox.
Oh yeah, we talked.
Did we talk about that?
I don't remember if we talked about it or not.
I don't think I was here for it.
Well, what's funny to me is that like the Fox News type of media, which it was a Tucker bit that he was talking about this socialist mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, or whatever. If that's your news source, I guess this is a story on that, at least for our sake of it. If that's your news source, then what is Amelia Parker? If you're paying attention to local politics and Kincannon is extreme left, Parker specifically, but a couple other people that are actively are like, there's that Mayor Kincannon is too conservative. And so it's like, the right wing is calling Kincannon a socialist. And then there are people in Knoxville that are calling her a conservative. It's like, how far to the left can you possibly be that this is somewhere in the middle? And the reality is, and I can see your AC is already saying it in his head, is that Kincannon's not really that hard left. She's left or whatever, but she's not so super hard left. It's just the sensational journalism that's calling her a socialist, even though she's not. And it's the actual real socialists that are calling her not a socialist, so they're probably the more accurate in the conversation. Tennessee made national news again for that health department lady or whatever. I don't know what the job title was.
Oh, yeah, she got fired.
I don't know. Like there's a small part of me that's kind of half okay, not with shutting down outreach or whatever, but I think it's one of those things we've talked about a bunch of times on a bunch of different subjects. Is this age of consent? What is the age of consent?
Hold on. That's not what we're talking about with her.
Okay.
All she was doing is saying that this is available.
Right. She was reminding.
It would be like me coming out and saying, "Hey guys, if you're over 21, come and get some of this alcohol here."
Right. I understand.
That's all that is.
Right. I agree with the specific of that one. That it was. I mean, there's some politicalness to it anyway, just because of the timing of it.
There's not. No, there's not. There's absolutely not. I completely disagree with that.
Okay.
No, there was absolutely political. She was saying we need to get more children vaccinated, and there was a push to say that we need to vaccinate more children, and there was a pushback that says, hey, we shouldn't vaccinate children. Then she says, well, these kids can get vaccinated on their own. They don't need their parents. That was her push.
Sure, I don't think that's political, though. I think it's just a fact.
No, it is a fact, but she was saying people were pushing back saying, no, we shouldn't vaccinate kids. Parents should, not vaccinate their kids. And then she was saying, well, sorry, parents, your kids can do it on their own, which was a fact, but it was definitely a political move on her point.
I don't think it was, man. Like I see it as if you the only way it's political is if you say, hey, file a lawsuit to make it okay to have a vaccine as a kid. Like that would be political to me. But like it's already legal, so like there's not a whole lot of politics involved. It would be like
I don't even know how that is legal though.
That's what I was starting to get to. I think that again, it's the age of consent thing being weird. But to stay on the politicization part of it is like I follow what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like, is there any beginnings of an argument to say that she pushed this memo out about the legalities of being able to vaccinate without parent consent of 16 or over, whatever the number is, 14. Is there any question that the timing of it isn't a reaction to especially the GOP in the state of Tennessee and the moves that they've been making specifically on certain vaccine topics?
I don't know why that matters.
I mean, I guess to me, that's why it feels political to me, because it's put out now in a response to what a particular government body and the controlling party is doing. That's politics.
I don't know why we're wasting time on whether it is politics or not. The reality is she stated a series of facts and she was fired for it.
Right.
And like again, that's the issue that I have with it.
Right. And I don't disagree that it's ridiculous that she got fired for, as you put it succinctly, stating a series of facts, because that's just dumb to get fired for that.
For me, it would be like, if you come out and you say, hey, if your blood alcohol content is 0.10 and you're driving a vehicle, you're going to jail. Well, like a person that says that, like the Tennessee Highway Safety Authority, if you're the spokesperson for that particular agency and you come out and say that, you shouldn't be fired for that because it's a fact.
Right.
I'm not saying that she should have been fired for her response, but I'm just thinking it was political.
I mean, regardless of whether it's political or not, I don't think it was. But regardless of that argument, there is zero. Nobody can convince me that she should have been fired for that.
Right.
No, I agree with you.
I think
100%.
that part we all agree on. I think it goes where we started it, or at least where I started it, it goes to this age of consent question that we've had 50 different times on 50 different topics, and most of those being different ages, which I think it's weird. I think what is it 14 or 16? I don't remember.
I think it's 14 actually.
14. So a 14-year-old in the state of Tennessee is capable of making a life decision like a vaccine, but not allowed to drive a car or operate a motor vehicle, not allowed to buy cigarettes, not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. But then at 18, they can take on an enormous amount of debt. They could go to war. They can do all these other things, but they can't buy a pack of cigarettes.
Technically 17.
I
mean,
you could enlist.
Well, no, you can go to college at 17.
Okay. Anyway, it adds another year to my point of we have,
sure.
at probably some of these same 14-year-olds that are capable of making a decision about their own long-term health and vaccines are also capable of being tried as an adult for certain violent crimes. It's just it's such a weird ism. It's like,
what are you proposing?
I think if it to me, if it's we're adults or we're not adults, it should be it shouldn't be a floating number. Or if it's a floating number, then you have to take some sort of cognitive test that the state provides that says whether you're an
Well, then
adult
most of the
or
people
not.
would fail.
That's the joke.
I think it
I
also
mean, it's not a joke. I think it's true. I think most of the people would fail. The parents of the kids, and the kids.
They should all be 18. Everything should be 18.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards in the grand theory of things.
We'll come to that in a second.
But you know, it's just I think it's odd. I mean, like the only one that always gets thrown in the mix is the 25 to rent a car, but that's an insurance thing, and that's between private companies and
All right,
whatever. That's their business. But
here's a go-to that happens a lot. Say a 15-year-old is pregnant. Who makes the determination of whether the kid continues or the type of health care that goes on for the developing fetus?
that's a tough question.
The child.
I mean,
You can have an abortion.
sure. Right. I mean, the law is the person that is pregnant makes the decision if they're 15.
Right.
And actually, I think it's even lower than that. But the point is, you know, if we're saying you have to be 18 to make these decisions, then clearly there are circumstances where that's not the case.
Right. I don't know. Again, you know, I'm sure that, I mean, that's a good example of maybe an exception to it, but for the most part, it just seems it's set up in the most advantageous way, depending on the situation. You know,
What do you mean? Elaborate on that a little bit.
For the state's sake of it. I mean, I don't know. It's like, you know, I mean, hell, they're talking about moving voting to 16.
It is in fact not advantageous for the state for an 18-year-old to buy tobacco. It's actually more advantageous for the state if a 16-year-old or a 14-year-old is able to purchase tobacco, because they're able to get more revenue that way. So I would just push back on the advantageous for the state argument and say that it's actually not advantageous for the state to have you be 18 or older to purchase tobacco.
Right. I mean, I get you. Yeah. But I think there's
wait, say that again. So you're saying that whether there's a difference if they're 16, but not a difference if they're 18?
No, what Seth said was the way the rules are set up now, he was implying that the way that the rules are set up, whether you're, say, 14 to get a vaccine or 18 to buy tobacco, it's set up not for the child, or not for the teenager, but it's advantageous for the state and what benefits the state. And I was pushing back and saying it's actually not beneficial for the state of Tennessee to have 18-year-olds be able to purchase tobacco, when in reality it would
It's
be more,
21. It's
okay.
21.
Well,
yeah.
even more so. I would argue that it's
Right.
actually more advantageous or more beneficial to the state if they're younger, because
the
it's
state
more
of Tennessee
revenue
makes
to
a
the state.
lot of money off of tobacco sales.
I switch in because
Yeah.
when you threw the 18 one thing, I was confused because
it's 21 now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what was confusing me. Okay.
No, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't.
I mean, I think you're looking for some sort of uniformity here with being able to make decisions at an appropriate age, and the reality is, like, there's no way to create that. And so, I think you're banging your head against the wall for something that won't exist.
I mean, I generally do that.
You're having difficulty
on the regular.
multitasking. We can just wait until you're.
No, you're fine. I was having the screen was. The screensaver kept kicking on, and it was making a little glitchy thing, and I didn't want to screw stuff, so I was fixing that.
Okay. I don't know what I don't know how to. It's going to be that way, man. I don't know.
But if that's if that is the answer to two things, then what's the point? I mean, what are we doing on this show, or what? Why am I interviewing anybody? Why do we bother voting? Well, I mean, if you're the defeatist in it, this is the way it is. Deal with it.
But I can't see of a thing that you should be. I think everything should be 18. I can't think of one single thing that is, if you're under 18, that you should be able to decide on your own.
The pregnancy scenario?
Nope. Absolutely not.
So if you're 17, your parents make the decision of whether they...
Yeah. You shouldn't go... You can't go and say, I want to have breast enlargement at 17.
Well, I don't care about that, but like...
Why? Why does that... That's still your decision of your body.
I'm saying I don't care one way or the other is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying...
No, so if you're 17 and say you're 6 months away from being 18 and you're in a relationship and say you guys are engaged, but you get pregnant, but your parents want you to abort the kid.
I don't think they could force you to abort the kid.
That's the point, though, is that if they're able to, if you want to have the abortion, but the parents don't want you to,
right? If they're able to force you to carry, then they
can force you to abort also.
Right.
No, I think that's a little different. I mean, that's forcing. That's forcing you to do something with your body, not.
Or they're forcing you to carry it, so you could either carry it or get rid of it, and they would be forcing one way or the other.
Well, if you're 17 and a half, you just wait till you're 18 and then go down and have an abortion. One of these states that it's still legal to have late-term abortions.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying.
But I mean, you're a child. Sorry.
I don't disagree with whether you're a child or not, but at the same time, if the parents can tell you to keep it,
so they
can also tell you to abort it.
Let's just go with 12.
12. Everything's 12. No, I mean, I just think everything should be 18. Like, if you make bad decisions, you make bad decisions that you have to live with. But when you're under 18 and you make those bad decisions, then you got to live with those consequences, whatever it is. And if you're 18, you can make all those bad decisions and deal with them however you want.
I mean, I agree that there are some tough ones. It's a little bit more complicated now, but I just think a lot of it's weird stuff, and maybe the exception is health, and maybe that's what we're kind of leaning towards here. Is the exception the exception to the 18 rule is
federally speaking, that's the exception.
I mean, that's the 14 part, yeah, that we're talking about now.
Right. That's what
so
I mean.
a 16-year-old wants to have a sex change, they should be able to just do that on their own.
I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I don't have an opinion or an answer to that.
That's been a topic, but I don't have I think it's.
I mean, that falls right there with abortion, though, right? It's your body. You should be able to do what you want with it. I mean, if you say that you should be able to have an abortion at 16 without any consent, you should be able to have a sex change without consent, or sell a kidney.
I think everybody should sell a kidney, but
I don't.
Just for fun.
You roast those things. It's going to be a shitty life for a very long time.
How about like half a liver? Can't you
some of the liver will actually regenerate?
That's what I'm saying. You can sell like part of your liver, right?
You could. Or
I don't think you can sell part of your liver, but
not part of my liver. I'm throwing that out because I might need to buy a liver
the
at
royal,
some point.
Right? The royal, you could sell a liver, not the me could sell a liver.
Hey, I've not drank in 3 days.
All right, so what's this? 24.
This may not even really be just open that up real quick.
Right,
just
from,
look at
from the tweeters.
New York Police Department. I follow some of their happenings. Just take a look at this video here. It's just random. This dude just grabs this kid and tries to run away with him. This is more of a topic about human trafficking, really, than anything. You don't really think about it existing. Thankfully, they were able to get this kid back, but my immediate reaction was, I need to be carrying, because I would have shot every single portion of this person completely 100% dead. So this is sort of walking around before they got in the car.
This is the guy? That's
the dude.
Gotcha.
They were able to find him, I guess, and arrested him.
Welcome to London. This is London?
No, it's New York City.
I'm just making fun of all the cameras. That's all.
So that was another topic of conversation, which is privacy. But, I mean, so if they're not able to get this kid out, they're never going to see this kid again. The kid's probably going to be some human trafficking nonsense and filled with drugs and sexual exploitation, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess the question is, firearms. If you don't have cameras, you don't catch this cat. I've been 100% on board with I don't want surveillance state.
Right.
But there are situations, here's one of them, where if you don't have that, then this cat's going to be around, and you know what I mean? Like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know the answer to it. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to say that, I'm not going to carry going down to the farmer's market, but like, what stops you from, having your kids kidnapped and you'll literally never see them again because they'll be, sold in a truly sold in a sex trafficking deal.
I'm just confused about this video because I barely like my own children. Why would I want to steal somebody else's child?
Well,
that's what throws me.
To continue down the path, the scary part of the conversation is that there's demand. Like, that's the crazy part.
So I spent a significant portion of this morning looking some of this stuff up. It's the number 2 illegal activity for money in the world. Number 1 is drug trafficking. The second is human trafficking. And a lot of those are intertwined. So a lot of these organizations figured out that instead of going down the drug trafficking route, they can make their money through human trafficking because there's such a demand for it.
Right. So I've always thought of human trafficking as, the 14-year-old girl from, Russia that is, gone into the, sex slave business. That's how I've always thought about what human trafficking was, but obviously there's a lot more of like selling babies on the black market or something.
That's exactly what happened. So there's the TBI has four folks in the organization of TBI that are focused primarily on human trafficking. The only thing they do is focus on that, and so apparently it's a fairly decent demand in Nashville. I guess it's really high in Atlanta, but part of the reason why it's so big in Nashville and even here in Knoxville is because you get into Atlanta and it's an international airport and you can get them out quickly.
So I wonder what the percentage of when they talk about human trafficking is the sex trade versus
labor.
Labor or
are you talking about sex as labor?
No,
greater than 50% is sex. I would imagine.
I would agree too. I'm just saying, but I was I was trying to help clarify his point. Is that the the traditional use of the term slave is go out and do the work, and I'm not paying you much, and you're going to live in a shitty whatever, versus the sex portion of the labor.
In America, I would say it's probably 90% sex.
Right.
And overseas, it's probably.
So do you think? So you think this child was being kidnapped for sex, or do you think it was somebody wanted a baby?
It's two males. No, not at all. It's two males. No, not at all. Those dudes don't look like they're working for some lady that owns a daycare that wants to steal a baby. I think those guys are low level dudes in some sort of crime organization that are able to
looking for a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. Just here's a description, and this is what I'll give you if you bring me one.
That's right.
See, my brain is pretty fucked up. Like I've got a twisted sense of reality and stuff. And watching this video, I never thought that was going to be a sex thing. I thought dude was just kidnap a child because my brain does not go to somebody wants to have a sex.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think some of it too is the fact that in some ways we're sort of protected here because we don't live in a large town. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's a larger town, but like if we lived in New York City or Atlanta or LA, I think it would be a little bit more in our face about sex trafficking. We don't hear a lot about that here in Knoxville, but there's an organization here, several actually, that work to fight this sort of thing.
So I am correct when I think that most sex trafficking or most human trafficking is sex trafficking.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
To AC answer, at least 51%, right? That's definitely my answer.
Yeah.
And I agree that that's like, it's just, but no, I mean, with what you were saying, Max, like, it is hard to rationalize as a fairly normal human being that there is a guy out there that is going to pay significant sums to fuck an 8-year-old, boy or girl, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Just like
this
premise,
is a boy in this circumstance,
right? The premise just doesn't it doesn't make rational sense. Why any part of that? I mean, any part of that doesn't make sense. You can break down all the different parts and pieces of it. It's like, I know this is a stolen human being. I know they don't want to do this. Like all the different parts, like I can't imagine even pretending like I could get a hard on in the situation.
Well, and if you start looking at some of the organizations that talk about this, a lot of the folks that are involved are well-connected, white-collar, have a lot of money.
Pizzagate.
Well, it's just, when you hear about, being in the medical profession, you have a 4-year-old that comes in that got raped or whatever. And I just think those individuals that are doing that, well, obviously they are like fucked up mentally, something wrong with them. But you watch these two guys walking down the street and they don't look like crazy.
We talk about apparently there's like a hand signal, like this thing.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw it on a show I was watching.
Is that what you signal to other people?
Yeah. That's supposedly like if you're
no, I'm saying you.
Yeah, all the time. When I'm on an RV driving through the state of Tennessee.
Well, and I thought about that too this morning about us getting for those 2 people that are still listening when we got pulled over at the Walmart in our RV and the cop was thinking that, the reason why we pulled you over was because a lot of the human traffickers put them in RVs. Is like, who the hell's going to have them in an RV? But, apparently a lot of our rural counties, it's a pretty high rate of human trafficking there. You get in these places that it's, a bunch of trailer parks or poor communities, and, it's, if you need drugs or alcohol, you sell the kids, and that's just how it goes. And it's like, that is not, it's just not a part of your everyday existence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't think about that shit. You just sort of, we bitch about politics and Trump being an idiot or Biden being a corpse, and you sort of having these conversations, and like, these are real life things that really truly do affect us on an everyday basis. And yet, if it's a privacy conversation, you're not going to know who this dude is if you don't have cameras everywhere. But like, what's the balance?
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say in the incident for you guys in Nashville, Nashville area, whatever you want to call it. Do you? I mean, granted that you weren't actually doing it, but was there a probable cause for him to stop you in the first place? I know we've had this conversation.
Yeah, it was the license plate did not match.
Oh yeah,
the
that's right. Okay. Because again, though, but I mean, that was a fishing. I mean, that officer was fishing for a trafficking situation.
Well, he says
using the excuse of the bad license plate, which is a valid excuse, but
he said that if there's any reason to pull over an RV, we pull them over.
He did say that. You're right.
He's like, because you're not speeding, you're never speeding,
right.
You're never really doing anything. He's like, it's a big RV, so there's not a lot that you can pull. You're gonna have a reason to pull an RV over. He's like, so if we see a license plate doesn't match or anything, he's like, we pull you over.
Right. But again, following the privacy bit, it's like, well, you're all of a sudden a suspect now because you operate a RV.
Not a suspect.
Good thing you didn't check the back of the RV.
All right.
All those kids back there.
These are the jokes, people. And then also, I'm reading on the headline of the tweet. It's of the charges filed: attempted kidnapping, reckless endangerment, acting in a manner injurious to a child less than 17.
Yeah, and so how long are you going to be in jail for?
I don't know, but what I was going back to our age issue.
Probably not long.
Yeah.
Going back to talking about age things and where ages apply, a 17-year-old can have an abortion, but they get special treatment in being a victim. Again, it's the weird consistency thing that I'm just pointing out. I don't have an opinion on it per se.
I don't think it's a weird.
I bet
I don't think it's a weird thing at all. Actually, I don't agree with what you're saying. It's a weird consistency. I don't think it's a weird consistency.
It's a weird inconsistency, I guess.
I don't think it's a weird anything. I think just because if a person is pregnant at 16, it's different than a person being kidnapped. I don't think it's I need a different series of words, I guess. For me
I think what he's saying that if you are 17 and 6 months and you're forced into sex trafficking, the penalty should be the same as if you were 18 and forced into sex trafficking. Going off the premise of you're 17 and 6 months, you could have an abortion, you can do other things like that.
If that's what you're stating, I don't agree with that.
Okay. That's just, again, I think it's one of those, Massey was all excited because they have a new, again, going with the weird age things, they've made it, state law this year has, Amber Alerts are now up to 21 or 20 years old. So at 21 is when you no longer would be Amber Alerted if you go missing or something like that.
So if you're 17, you're in the military.
If you're 19,
no, I'm saying,
and your mom doesn't, you don't call your mom this afternoon like you normally do. She can call that in as a missing person, and it would get an Amber Alert on top of a normal missing person.
No, I'm saying if you're 17 and you're in the military and you get kidnapped by the Taliban. They're going to charge you in acting in the manner.
Well, that, and they'll put an Amber
to a child.
They'll put an Amber Alert out for you.
Oh, it says less than 17, so that doesn't work.
An Amber Alert out in Afghanistan, which we're apparently leaving. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited about it. I'm pleased if we actually finish that off.
That's wild. That's a whole new thing.
What?
I'm just saying that the kidnapping, that's they just broad daylight.
Yeah. And how much jail time is this cat really going to get? The other guy hasn't been caught yet as of, an hour ago before I got here. And, sometimes I guess that there are situations where child rapists are typically not treated very, very well in jail. But this guy didn't 100% go down that road, but he was facilitating it. So is there prison justice available for this guy when he's there? Probably not.
Well, he's not labeled as a rapist. He's labeled as a attempted kidnapping.
But I still think it's a kid. I think kidnapping kids is under the same umbrella of that. I think that's on the list.
I would hope so. But
by the time he goes to court and all that kind of stuff, and like gets sentenced and all stuff, there's probably like time served. That's
I doubt it.
thing.
I mean,
a couple years.
He's maybe. Yeah, I mean, he'll be there longer than a few days. I think. I mean, if he's 20,
no, I'm saying like by the time he goes court hearings, and he'll be in jail for a couple years, and by the time he gets sentenced, it'll be like. I
don't know. And like getting into the mind of these people, what is wrong? What is deficient about you as a person?
Right.
That says that this is appropriate behavior.
Right. Even if you're not in this case, we don't know whether they would be the potential customers of said ring, or if
probably
they're
not.
Just bagman.
They're just.
And what was he getting paid for that? Like, what is that? What?
Probably something low.
And again, right? That's what I like. That like, what is the number?
Like $500?
Right, but
probably less than that.
$1,000?
Probably less than that.
What number would it have to be for you to think that this makes any sense?
Jesus,
like 0.
50.
Right.
I can't think of any. Right, like I really can't.
Right. I agree. I'm just saying, but like, what place in life in the world would you have to be in that any number makes sense, let alone the likely, $1,000 or 500 or something ridiculously small that it probably actually was.
Yeah.
Like how
$50,000.
How terrible does your situation need to be where that makes sense? Or going to AC's example of when you get out into the rural version of it, where it's messed up in the trailer park and you're selling a kid for your next fix. Like, how bad does it have to be that somehow makes rational sense?
It would have to be life-changing money to risk all that.
The moral thing is what I would have a problem with.
I agree.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't understand how someone would do it. I don't understand how someone would do it at all. But even the fact that they would do it for a couple $100,
right?
Like, that's just.
So
that's why they're doing it, though.
That makes you more fucked up, like that you would do that for $100.
Sure, but that's why they have them doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get a guy in a suit that's going to do it, because the suit's going to be a little more rational. For them, it allows them to get another tank of gas in that 1992 Honda.
Well, it's going down your line of thought, AC, where you said there's no amount of money. It reminds me of my stepdad one time was talking to my aunt, and it was like I think that movie just came out, the Indecent Proposal, where pays her $1 million to have sex or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my aunt's like, I'd have sex with someone for $1 million. And my stepdad said, would you have sex with me for $10? And she goes, no, I'm not a whore. He's like, we already established what you are. We're just negotiating price now.
That's funny. That's funny.
So did you guys, do you guys remember the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping attempt thing?
I don't know who that is.
She's the governor of...
Oh, yes, Michigan.
So there's 18 people that were part of this thing. 12 of them were either working directly for or indirectly for either the CIA, FBI, or state police. So it's a pretty crazy story if you get into it.
So there was an attempted kidnapping on the mayor.
Governor.
On the governor. And there was 18 people involved, and 12 of them work...
either directly or indirectly for
2/3.
Yeah.
So it was a government hit.
You've seen the story. I can't remember where it took place.
Nope.
Where
nope, I haven't.
There's a story where there's a
is it on TikTok?
There's a drug bust, probably. There's a drug bust in place, and the bust is a bunch of undercovers that are trying to set up inside the network to bust the actual dealer. So it's police arresting police for this drug bust. No, I'm sorry, I back up. I fucked that up. It was a group of buyers that were undercover agents going to meet a group of sellers that were undercover agents. Then transaction takes place, and they both say "police!" Whoa! And then it turns into a standoff
hilarious
of undercover agents against each other because they don't know that they're both working on the same thing. And so again, that I bring that story up and tell it poorly, not on purpose, but because it's an example
Not
of
on purpose.
I didn't tell it poorly on purpose. I brought it up on purpose. But
God damn.
this whole Michigan kidnapping thing, it's one of those, there's a bunch of stuff back when we were in the old school war on terror where there were CIA guys that were recruiting and more or less training and then pushing people into doing things so then they could go bust them and then they could celebrate their win in foiling another terror plot. And it's like, well, you took this kid that, doesn't know anything. You radicalized him. You give him the means and opportunity. You send him out to do the job and then you arrest him and count that as a win. And that's happened a number of times in a number of different levels.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that. If you need to read blowback. Are you familiar with the term blowback? It's a CIA term. There's a book called Blowback by Chalmers Johnson. You got to read it. It's fantastic. Essentially, it says that the U.S. government and the military by proxy, we show up to some using verbiage of yesteryear, shithole country, and you fuck a lot of stuff up, and you leave with the flag sort of flying as you leave, and you look around at all the poverty that now is even worse as a result of a poor decision by somebody in a suit that the soldiers have to go and do themselves. And then what you're doing is you're leaving a power vacuum there where now they hate that flag. They see everything that flag represents. And so in some ways, we're radicalizing communities across the world just based on some of the poor decisions that not the soldiers are doing, but some of these assholes in office are doing. Yeah. And so essentially it's saying that in some ways 9/11 was the fault of many decades of poor diplomacy on the United States' fault. I mean, which is Reagan, in some ways true.
Right. It was Reagan that was arming the Taliban at the time to fight the Russians in Afghanistan then, and all the different help and promises that administration and some of the administration around it did do and then didn't follow through on their promises. They hit the road, like you're saying.
Hey, scroll
like,
off that
fuck
thing.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah, it's
in a loop. I can't not watch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. I'm not familiar with the book specifically, but I'm familiar with the premise.
The point of first of all, you should read the book. Second of all, really, what you just described is just a more direct route to do that. Really, because we're just admitting that does exist, and so what we're going to do is radicalize you even faster than we would have if we had just sort of blown everything up and took away all your health care and what little bit was there anyway, and took all your women and just made it a little bit faster to have that sort of thing happen. Really.
Right, but so they get to count it as a win, and I don't know.
We've been doing that forever.
Right.
It's just taking longer.
Right. I just think it's a little. I don't know. I get what you're saying. I think it's a little different, but yes, I fully understand the premise. Where at least in the blowback version of it, that's not the intent. The intent is not to. Well, maybe it could be.
It is the intent.
The intent is to radicalize them to keep the machine rolling.
Yes,
because
the industrial military complex needs to continue to feed itself. That is exactly the intent.
And I mean, this whole Cuba situation has brought up some interesting little tidbits in the age-old war of capitalism versus communism kind of thing. And it's like if we like to sit here and say how I don't know. We as a group or whatever, but historically at least America's like, communism is the great evil, it does terrible things, blah 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 blah, and it's like, and so we put an embargo on to show them how bad it is, which all that really does in the long run is that gives them somebody to blame for why it failed.
Sure,
it could have made it, except we couldn't get we couldn't do things that we wanted to do because of the embargo.
Why would we want them to succeed? Because if they do succeed, then we're giving a potential blueprint for another economic system that could work, and so by definition we wouldn't want that to happen, and so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for us.
That's when that part of the Cuban issue has been interesting to me, learning more about that part of things. And it's like, and we still in the middle of the pandemic, and still today in the middle of their great public outrage and all the things that are going on, the embargo's still in place. And nothing comes and goes except a bunch of people on rafts that somehow make it to Hawaii.
In fairness, the radical leftist Obama was actually had it removed for a bit, and then but Biden didn't remove it when he came in office. Apparently, he doesn't think it's a priority.
Yeah,
which I disagree with.
No, I think it's not that he doesn't think it's a priority. His cabinet doesn't think it's a priority.
If he thought it was a priority, it would be a priority.
He doesn't think anything's a priority.
Okay.
Breathe.
If it doesn't come on the teleprompter.
Okay.
Either way, it was not an issue for this administration. Is that a better way to
It
say
doesn't
Yes.
seem to have been. Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay.
I'll agree with that.
Because
Have you had? Well, you don't smoke. You don't really enjoy cigars. I was
No.
on. Several years ago, I was with a different female at the time, but we went on a cruise, and it was the first and only time I had an actual Cuban. So I'm sitting on the deck of this fucking cruise ship, and I'm like 30 minutes into this cigar, and I'm like, I don't understand what the big deal is. It's about as good as some of the better ones that I've ever had. And I get about 45 minutes into it, I'm like, I'm fucking high as shit right now. This is the best fucking cigar I've had in my life.
Really?
Yeah, it was good.
I could have smoked.
It took a little bit, but
I could have smoked Cuban cigars all last week.
I should have. Well, can you bring them back? Well,
Who are you
I
talking to?
should have asked you. That was my fault. I should have asked you.
Next time.
Yeah, next time you go, you should.
I'll
pay
bring
you
some
for
back from Carousel. I'm sure they're there.
them. Okay, I'll pay you for how much. I don't give a fuck how much it is.
So you're going to New Orleans tomorrow?
Yeah.
What's going on in New Orleans?
Marine Corps reunion.
Is it Antoine, right?
Anton, he's going.
Anton,
Yeah.
he's gonna be there. Sweet.
He's going to be there.
Tell him I said hello.
Will do.
I mean, I guess I just did because he does listen. But
Does he really?
Yeah. He's been on the show twice.
I mean, I knew that, but come on, he doesn't listen.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not.
He doesn't listen.
I mean, he was the complaint of I talk too fast on the intro, right?
No, that's John, one of the regulars.
Oh,
He listens all
I'm
the
trying
time.
to.
I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, dude. Like,
He's like, I can't understand anything Seth says when on the
On
intro.
the intro. Working on it. I've been having some sound issues I'm trying to work out too. It's for some reason when it goes to the podcast players, it gets significantly quieter.
Is there a way for people to comment on like stuff? I guess they could go to our Facebook page.
they don't listen.
Like,
How can we get comments if nobody's
if we
listening?
if we had a listener and they
Okay,
wanted
there we
to
go.
comment, I guess they could go to their
Let me
Facebook.
qualify this real quick. Make sure that we have low opinions of ourselves. All right, now that we got our self-loathing out of the way.
we have high opinions of ourselves. We're also realists, though. Nobody listens to this shit.
So
I mean,
there's no way to like. Is there a way to comment on the podcast? Like,
I mean, yeah, the Facebook would be the easy one. You go to our Twitter page too. If you do it through YouTube, I mean, obviously the YouTube section has it.
You can
comments
DM
section.
us on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, like to push back a little bit on the nobody listens. Jennifer Owen from the school board, she's messaged me like mid-show. She'll be listening to a show.
I think we hit a sensitive spot for him.
You have.
Let me prove to you, we got one person that's listened.
She she'll message me and be like, hey, you guys were talking about this thing. Here's the specific on it. I can't remember. Sam and I were talking a couple weeks ago about. Let me find it. Maybe if I can figure out how to open my phone. Sam and I were talking a couple weeks about. It's episode 113 when we were talking about the Gloria Johnson situation, the desk, and that whole thing. And I guess Jennifer has more insight than we do. Said that she only has the one phone. So yeah, Sam and I were talking about, or Sam asked, does she have a second phone? Like, does she have her personal phone that she uses for like friends and family? But then does she have one that when she gives that number out, 'cause she gives her phone number out everywhere, on whether or not, people, like she has a separate phone so she knows it's coming from the public versus, friends or whatever. So Jennifer was listening to the episode and decided, she was like, hey, no, she only has the one phone. That's
or that's what they tell everybody.
Maybe. And then it was an episode that you were on too. It was the 4th of July one, I think, because the assistant died, remember, and you got on me for not asking, and it was said she had cancer. So she died of cancer while serving for Miss Johnson, and then Gloria can't seem to get a replacement.
Well, she probably could, but the winds of change here in Tennessee are not allowing that to happen.
Yeah, and well, she had one for a minute, and then she quit or something like that too, because she had no office space, and there's an empty office across the hall apparently. So it's really just that dickish.
Now that's politics.
That's stupid.
That is also stupid. Yes.
And like I don't know, it's just dumb. It's that like of all the little stuff that that you see when you start paying attention to all the different little like what I would call politics things in the back and forth, and that everything's a campaign for the next cycle kind of thing. Everybody's always, what's the answer that's going to get me reelected kind of stuff like that. That I can get. But this person was elected. She has a duty to her constituency, and within that there are things that are obliged for her to have access to in her job. And just for pure pettiness, I don't know how you like. This isn't quite as extreme, but I don't know how you rationalize that as Speaker Sexton. But Sexton, right? Speaker Sexton.
Yeah. Here's the issue that I have with it. Aren't you the opposing party? Aren't you supposed to be the self-proclaimed party of ethics and morals? Like, it just seems like a moral issue. Like you're going to intentionally not let somebody have a better office space because you just don't fucking like them.
Right.
And not to that is. It's horseshit.
Right. Not to mention she's like one of seven Democrats in the House. So it's not like there's any real political wins a change in here. All you're doing is making yourself look like an asshole. You're not damaging her. She's not going to get anything done anyway because of the way the system works.
Right. But there's probably like 30 interns at the White House that have their own office. Right?
Sure. I'm sure. For sure.
But the point being, it's like who is it there that's saying, hey, I get what you're doing and it's funny, but this isn't gonna go the way you think it's gonna go.
It should be everybody that is there in
right.
Like everybody should say that.
Right. And that's what boggles my mind about it. It's like this isn't gonna work the way you think it's gonna work. This isn't gonna get her to quit working or quit doing her thing. Her whole campaign is a fuck you to the state and the way the state works. That's who she is as a candidate.
Sure.
And so to think that somehow this is going to get her to stop is the dumbest thing ever. All it's going to do is give her more ammunition and make you look like a dick. And if you're smart enough to get this position, but you're not smart enough to see that this is what's going to happen if you do it, I'm really confused. Like, how does this not? Like, how does somebody not go, hey, man?
Totally agree.
I don't understand how it's not a level playing field. Like, the person that does that same job, like. Does that person not have a separate office for the person? Or
I'm assuming it's a procedural issue because it is obligated somewhere in the law for her to have an office and an assistant and all this stuff. It is obligated. It's written down somewhere, but it's a matter of.
Is she a first term?
No, she's been in office previously. She lost the most recent time too.
No, but like what she got, she just got elected.
This is her first of this term. Yeah,
this term,
right. This is her first term this time around.
The person that she took over for, where was their office and their...
He was a Republican, so I am sure he had an office.
Well, I'm saying is, shouldn't that not be the, like...
he probably left...
There's not a White House for the Democrat and a White House for the Republican, right? You just take over for the person, so you would think that office would be the same, right?
I don't know. In the State House in D.C., there are wings. Like, if you're a Republican, you go out of the building to the right. If you're a Democrat, you go out of the building to the left. You have, I don't know if it's
why is that?
Not of the White House, out of Congress.
Right, out of Congress.
That's how that started.
Right, but
because we have to have segregation, right?
By the party, but we
that's
do,
and
federally at least we do. Like they have, I don't know if it's the same office building, but they're different floors of the building. I don't know exactly how it breaks down federally, but it is one goes left, one goes right. You're not your office. If you're a Democrat, you don't have an office next to a Republican. It's in a separate wing of the building.
It's more why I hate politics.
It's stupid. It's part of the partyism bullshit.
Reining this in a little bit. The larger issue is, if we're saying that things are just politics, this doesn't count as one of the things that's just politics. This should be give her her fucking office. Like, this is absurd.
I'm just saying this is. Just any of the thing.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Right. You're not like, oh, you're a first year. We hiring a second grade teacher. Oh, you can't have that room because we don't like you. We're going to put you in a mop closet to teach. Like, no, you take over that second grade room. Right. How is that not the same?
Right. The logical thing would be that if you're a District 18, this is the District 18 office.
Absolutely.
If you're District 13, which Gloria is, this is the District 13 office. That would be the logical way things would work, and that each district has their own office, and whoever gets elected gets that office.
And that's how Congress should be. They shouldn't have them split Democrats and Republicans. This is the Tennessee office. This is the
that would make sense. That would be the logical. Hey, this is your office because this is District 13's office.
But our country's not into making things better. It's to divide it more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
You have these moments where you say some really profound things. And that last sentence was definitely one of those.
I have not drank in 3 days, remember?
Right. Sobriety is a son of a bitch. But yeah, I just think it's that there's a that the consistency of that this is not about you and me constituent. is what's becoming the major issue to me. Is the further I get into this stuff, these things aren't about me and you. These things aren't about us. All these different things at play. It's really just for the.
I'm just surprised it took you so long to figure this out.
And you so nicely calls me stupid. You hear that?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm just.
I don't think it's new per se.
I find it interesting that like.
To defend myself, I don't think it's a new thought. It's that I have evidence to prove that I was right before. I guess is the better way to say what I was.
I mean, you're college educated. You had some of the evidence previously. I mean, you've got historical documentation that you've had access to. You know, that the normal public could have to dig a little bit further for. I mean,
wait. Almost all politicians are college educated. So saying that makes you intelligent.
I didn't say that they were intelligent. I'm just saying that he just found out that it's not about the individual. The politicians would tell you that if you got them off the record.
Right. I agree. Obviously. Duh, that's what I just said.
right. Like,
See, that's anyway. I don't know. It's just it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
It is frustrating.
I guess the more realistic, frustrating part now, or currently to me, is that it's not. It's a known okay. I guess is what the real problem is. Is everybody knows it, and it's just like, well, this is. I mean, you've said the phrase twice today, at least already. It's like, well, that's how it is. That's how it's always going to be. Maybe not on this issue you've said it, but you've said that on other issues.
Well, just because I'm stating it doesn't mean I think that it should be that way.
Right.
Well, the reason why it is always going to be that way is because people are going to have to continue to work their fucking bullshit $12 an hour jobs and work their ass off without spending additional time on things that actually fucking matter. They're too busy worrying about whether or not they can eat or pay their bills or still have their shitty house that they live in. And so the extra time it's going to take to devote to get these fuckers out of office is just not a part of the equation.
Yeah.
So that's why it'll always be this way.
Yeah. And it's intentionally built that way.
Exactly.
I mean, that's part of the game.
100%.
But the question is just going to be other shitty people in office.
Yeah, because the people that the people that actually would functionally make real change don't have a shot with the way the system's set. You can't, like the closest nearest examples that we have of anything. I mean, Manis is a little bit of one where he didn't play the game by the rules and still won, but he's still going to get censured and he might get kicked out of the party and all this other kind of crap moving forward. His political path moving forward is at least significantly handicapped because he went and did the job the way he wanted to do the job, not the way he was told to do the job by the party.
Well, and to bring an even larger example, Bernie's been fucked over by the DNC now twice.
Right.
So whether or not you believe or agree with what Bernie is trying to get done, he typically doesn't follow the party's rubric to get things done, which is why he's never been their nominee for president.
Right,
but that's not an accident.
But he continues to kind of fall back in line with the party when they need him to, because he knows that if he completely abandons the party, he has zero shot of ever getting anything done.
Well,
I
maybe.
I like probably 90% of what Bernie says.
I do too.
Honestly,
I do too.
The only problem I have with him is it's not possible to do all these things. That's the problem.
There's not enough time for us to have this conversation. I think more of it can be done, but we waste money in other areas,
right.
which is why we can't. I think,
especially after this year and all the craziness and all this different kind of stuff going on, the more I'm a Yang fan. I'm on board with the universal basic. I think it's a way.
I don't think that we shouldn't have it.
It's a way to move forward on a lot of things.
What'd you say?
Universal basic income.
Oh, okay.
Be like, there's the specific numbers and stuff or whatever, but it's like $1,000 a month. You get a $1,000 a month from the federal government, and that's it. So $12,000 a year income per adult in a household. So you have.
I don't want to get into too big specifics about this.
Right.
But the issues that I have are, why do we push back when we say that there should be a living wage or things of that nature when there's all of this money that goes back to these large conglomerates? Transnational corporations get all this money back, and that's not seen as socialist. But as soon as we start having conversations about giving more money back to individual people and families,
right.
That's all of a sudden socialist.
Right.
That's the issue I have, and it's more of a philosophical conversation.
Right. Well, I mean,
it's the same fucking thing.
Right. Go like in the CARES Act, in the in all the COVID relief stuff. I mean, what was the first one was like what $1.9 trillion?
I'm not sure, but it was a lot.
It was like $600 billion went to me and you. So 2/3 of that entire bill
went to other things.
Yeah, and I remember at the time I was arguing. I think it's ridiculous that they kept the airlines functional. I think it was stupid.
Yeah.
I think as much as the PPP loan was cool, I don't think the PPP loans actually functioned the way anybody designing it wanted them to. And so the majority of that bill was wasted on. I mean, like there's been a big kick right now, and everybody's been listing all of the Tennessee reps throughout the state that got significant PPP loans. Manus being one of them. That because it was something about their Governor Lee was trying to get rid of the unemployment bonus in the state, and they listed all the different GOP people that got significant PPP loans for their businesses that they don't have to pay back, but they're going to take away the normal person.
That's it's just beyond fucked up, and yet most of the people that say let's get rid of the social programs are going to be voting for these clowns that are getting the loans themselves. And it's like, wait a minute, so you're saying that you don't want to have the loan, or you don't want to have social service programs for you and your neighbors, but you're okay because you think that we should just work harder, so to speak. But you're okay with your elected official getting several $100,000 that they don't have to worry about paying back?
Right.
What the fuck is the difference?
Right.
And yet they're voting for these fucking people.
The amount of corporate welfare and such is ridiculous. You take that and you take military spending, you take those two things and reallocate it to something like a universal basic income. Costs don't go up.
That surprises me that you're down this road.
I mean, it's not the perfect answer. I guess if I was going to try to rewrite the whole world in the way I wanted it to be, but being the realist of this is the way things are, and this is an option at play.
No business. I don't think any business in the world should get any money from the government for any reason. Any company, not a hospital. Not a church.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Not a government. Not government, but not airplanes, not banks. No one. You know what happens if you can't survive? If the airplane people couldn't survive, you'd have Elon Musk opening up his new airline because he would say there's a need for that. Let American Airlines crash and burn. Let all these places crash and burn. Somebody will step in and do it.
The unintentional pun there was beautiful. I was just I couldn't not laugh at it.
What?
The planes
let the airlines crash and burn.
Oh,
let the planes
airlines
crash and burn.
Yeah.
You did it on purpose, Max.
Just say you did.
Yeah, I did.
I know. I mean, I agree. Like, it doesn't make it doesn't make sense because even when you try to use the argument of like, well, we need the bank or we need the airlines to stay up and running because it's part of it's almost an infrastructure item. Blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, but the assumption that somebody else isn't going to come in and do it. The need's there. Yeah. We agree. Everybody agrees the need's there. So why does protecting American Airlines protect the service that is needed? It doesn't, because it doesn't incentivize American Airlines to do better. It just keeps them alive.
Well, how about up in like Cook County? I think it was Cook County. The hospital was closing. They're shutting down. They were trying to get the money to stay open. And they didn't get any money, so the hospital was shutting down. So it was a group of 15 doctors that bought the hospital and are currently running it. And it was like, see? Somebody stepped in and said, hey, we can make some money here. And
that goes into a... Sorry, go ahead.
That does happen in some occasions, but I mean, a large issue for Tennessee right now is our health care. Our health care is losing some of the rural hospitals like that. It really is a thing. Because I mean,
but there's a lot more at play in the hospitals as far as regulations and stuff. That what we would consider a normal business doesn't have to deal with.
No, you don't. You also don't see. Hey,
which is a separate issue. I guess is what I was trying to get to. Is that I would like for healthcare to be in the realm of saying I have the ability and skills to help people with their health needs. They don't have anybody that's available to them. I will make myself available to them so that I can make money and they can have the service they need. Blah 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 blah. But it doesn't. It doesn't quite translate the same when you get into healthcare.
You don't see Tenova going, we're going to shut down their hospitals if someone doesn't come in here and give us $1 billion like the airlines did, or these other major companies.
Specifically pandemic related. They were staring down the barrel of a giant windfall anyway. They were ready for all the monies. They were. I mean.
We had to have it because I think we wouldn't survive.
Right. I'm not saying
in this situation we really wouldn't have survived.
Right. But it goes into the situationally specific. This was a huge. There's a lot of money that a lot of hospitals got.
Yeah, but that was
because it was a healthcare
situation.
Right.
You know.
Anyway, going back to the larger issue, I just find it humorous that that for the most part, an uneducated public will vote in people that don't want to help them with money, and yet these same people that they're voting in are able to get kickbacks and allow them to make more money. It's just it is so bizarre to me that they can't connect the fucking dots.
Right.
That it's just you see an R and it's like they're gonna help, and it's like, no, they're not. Right. They're not interested. They want to cut welfare spending or social service programs, and yet allow those same businesses that they own to get the same sort of kickbacks at a much larger level. I don't fucking get it.
Right.
I don't get it.
I don't think it's not a hot topic.
On the other side, voting for a D, what do you get for doing that?
I was going to show an example. There's a current example right now that I think it's the Department of the Interior, the head of the Department of the Interior, had a bunch of interest in a bunch of different companies, but one of the ones, they shut down the Keystone Pipeline, but she was one of the major influencers for Biden to keep this other one, and she owned a significant sum in whatever the company that will benefit from the use of this pipeline. It's a Canadian oil company or something like that, that this pipeline is going to be used to pump it down into the States to get refined and all that kind of crap. But like, she specifically pushed the Biden administration to allow this pipeline to go through, and then some government ethics office got wind of it, and they're like, hey, there's a problem, there's a conflict of interest thing here, you're required to divest that. There is a tax loophole for people in office, not elected people in office, but bureaucrats in this way. If you are required to divest, you don't have to pay capital gains taxes. So she already gets the pipeline in place, gets the boost in her value of stock, is required to sell it, and doesn't have to pay taxes on those capital gains.
It's horseshit.
Because of the system in play.
Yeah, it's because the people that are in positions of power write the laws.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't.
The point
it's the opposite. If you vote for a D, then you have a whole other.
Hold on. So I'm not taking shots at Republicans. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in this particular circumstance, there are more Republicans that want to get rid of social service programs than Democrats. Is all I'm saying.
That's correct.
And so, and yet, the same number of Republicans and Democrats receive kickbacks for their businesses across the board. And I find it incredibly inconsistent that you would say, not you, but like a Republican would say, let's remove social service programs completely because people are lazy and they should go to work. And yet at the same time, they're getting government kickbacks from taxpayers. It doesn't seem consistent to me. That's all I'm saying. It's not a shit on Republicans thing. It's just saying that the Democrats are not saying remove these programs, and those that are as bad as the Republicans that do. And if there are Republicans that say don't remove them, then I'm okay with that. Is what I'm saying.
Right, because the Democrats tend to lean more into the social.
Yes. There are some that don't, and those people should be looped into the same group as I'm sort of looping in the Republicans that are.
Right, but yeah, we could take a different issue and do the same conversation where a Democrat's going to more likely be the one that's I can't rationalize why you would vote for this.
And I would say the same thing.
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not
you're
shitting
on that one. Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
you're saying that one topic.
Yeah, I'm not shitting on Republicans. I'm shitting on any of these assholes that are not consistent.
Well, because the game at play is if you actually try to vote and try to care about it, by the time it gets to a general, because of the primary process and how everything works, you were almost always playing a lesser of two evils game of whatever these different issues are.
I don't like that.
But that's just what I'm saying.
No, man, I can't get on board with that because saying that sort of stuff continues to perpetuate the binary situation that we've got. Because if you say that if it's a lesser of two evils, then you've essentially got two choices that you have to be okay with. And maybe it's a semantics conversation.
Right.
But I can't even get on board with saying it's the lesser of two evils because for me it just perpetuates that thing.
But what I was trying to illustrate with that is that when we, let's say I'm running for Republican, for me and Eddie and Gina are trying to primary for whatever, and I'm actually the functional change that we're talking about inside the party, but I'm trying to run under the Republican banner or whatever.
Okay.
I'm not going to get through the Republican primary because of my stances on X, Y, and Z, and so by the time the party picks who's on there, it's going to be a lesser of two evil conversation for those that are actually put forth the effort to pay attention. For the most people, it's not going to be a lesser of two evils. I'm not agreeing with it. I don't think it's a good thing. I think that's part of the problem. I think that's part of the party issue at play anyway, because like, it was so weird to me because Randy Pace and Matt Shears say the same thing about it. It's like, we as a party are the gatekeeper for your candidates. They have to pass our threshold and get and check the boxes that we want them to check before they're going to be on the ballot for you to vote for.
And who sets that?
They do. Just whatever group of people gets together and volunteers and gets elected as party chair and the executive committees of the different parties, whether local or state, and they're the ones that get to play. Again, this Eddie Manis story, as I followed it through this whole debacle in his primary and all the different stuff that was going on with that, all that goes to us learning about the party whip that you talked about and all the different parts. All that goes into is that you have to fit a box to be our candidate.
So who votes the Republican chair and all these people in?
Registered Republicans in the state of Tennessee. And if you're at one of their events and you're not one of them, you can't cross a certain line on the floor.
Really?
Democrats do the same thing, yeah.
Like, I really want to get some punch. Can you give me some punch?
Yeah.
I can't cross this line.
Yeah, like there's literally it was the Republican one, the Democrat one's coming up here in a couple weeks. The Democratic one, excuse me. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm going to say it forever. Deal with it. The Democratic one's coming up here in a couple weeks, but the Republican one that I went to walked in there and saw a couple people I knew, whatever, talking to them, whatever. I was just walking around, just kind of meeting people and chatting and doing this kind of stuff. And some guy walks over to me. He's like, where's your wristband, buddy? And it's like, I didn't get one. I'm not here to vote or anything. Like, I'm just here to watch the show. He's like, well, then you got to stay back there. There's like a separate set of chairs for us non-party people. I mean,
did you not say a media?
It doesn't matter. They have again, I was joking with Matt about it afterwards, and he's like, yeah, we do the same thing, but we have a media section, but it's still outside the circle. So there, I mean, I don't know how to interpret that other than that there are conversations and things happening that inside that circle that you and I, public, aren't privy to and aren't welcome to be privy to. If you're not part of the machine, you don't get to know these things.
How is that any different in the 70s when we were like, sorry, color your skin, you have to sit in the back of the bus? Like,
so
you know what I mean? Like,
I understand what you're saying is sort of I understand what you're saying, but like as a joke thing. But like thinking about this, and I don't know if this is going to be a huge topic, but the Haiti thing. Yeah. I have no doubt that we had hands involved in that. And I'm also very comfortable in saying that there are things. Sure, I'll take one. There are things that we as citizens have zero business in knowing, because it's better for the safety and security of our country. Now, you're probably not doing that in Knoxville, Tennessee. But these things do exist that the public doesn't need to know about. Not saying that happens in Knoxville, but...
I mean, I'll agree on some level, but on our candidates, I could understand that after being a candidate and after being in an elected position that there are national secrets or local secrets that have obligation to stay secret, but I don't see that being. I don't see a party restructuring ceremony as being a place where those conversations should be happening anyway, because those aren't all elected officials. Those aren't all security clearance people.
I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be off topic. I'm just saying that there are circumstances where people don't need to know things.
Right. I agree with you.
That's all I'm saying.
I just don't think this particular, where we started this part of the conversation, I don't think that's one that should be on the list of places where secret topics
So if you had said, no, I'm not going to do that, what happens? So when he says you need to step back here,
I don't know.
What happens? You should ask that question.
I'm assuming
Are they going to escort you out of there?
Probably. That would be my assumption.
So under what pretense?
I mean, it's a private event. They control the room. Same way I could kick somebody out from a restaurant. If I own a restaurant, I can remove you for whatever reason.
Is it a private?
It is. That's the thing.
Did you get an invitation? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, not physical invitation. I was told by Randy Pace that I should go to this thing.
Okay. Can anybody show up to this?
Yes, it is open to the public.
Then how is it open to the public and also a private event?
Same way McDonald's is open to the public, but it's a private company. It's a private space. They can remove anybody they want at any time for any reason.
Maybe I'm just not getting across the appropriate language here.
Same way. Okay. Same way. It would be keeping the McDonald's example. I can go into the McDonald's, but I can't go in the kitchen.
It's not a good example because you don't have elected officials there that are getting paid by tax dollars.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying.
That's my concern. You know what I mean?
Right. Sunshine Law. Again, if Mr. Buck wouldn't be a douche and would come on the show, and I
well, calling him a douche is probably not going to motivate him to show up.
I mean, he's already flatly told me no twice, so I'm not thinking I've got a shot anyway. But I'd really like to understand.
Do you want to come on my show?
One.
What's the name of your show?
I don't know. I'll make one up.
Okay.
I'll sell you studio time if you want.
Cool. And then he has to come down here.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you make a valid point. It's like, with them being there in that grouping,
I'm serious.
Fall under Sunshine Law? No, I
am dead serious.
I mean, I agree with what you're chasing down here because I'm curious as well if that would fall under Sunshine Law since you had a Burchett and a Ward. I mean, an easier example would be Ward and Biggs were both there. You know, because I know that they are not allowed to talk about stuff without it being sunshine.
Right. So it would be like you get pulled over by the cops, and there's a person in the passenger seat, and there's no compelling evidence to think that anything's going on, but they ask you for your driver's license and some form of ID as a passenger. You're not legally required to give that to them.
Right.
But if you give that to them, you're you're being complicit in that situation. So maybe really at the end of the day, they wouldn't have asked you to leave because maybe legally they can't. But since you respond in this particular matter, that it's just sort of understood that I
obliged to the social situation.
Correct.
And so there, yeah, I get what you're saying. That's a good question as far as the specifics of it. Because I don't know what their requirements are. As a party, they don't have the requirements, but with elected officials in tow, it does bring up legal questions. I get what you're saying for sure.
Let's go to the next one and cross those lines.
Fuck it, I'll do it. I don't give a shit. I'll absolutely do it. When's the next one? Fuck it, I'll do it.
The Knox County Democratic Party one's coming up pretty soon.
When is it?
I'm looking for it.
All right, look.
You know I can't multitask, so talk on.
That's really true. I'll stop talking. Go ahead.
The District 3, Truman Day. KCDP reorganization is Saturday, the 21st of August.
It's the week before archery opening weekend. Sounds good to me.
All things in reference to Hunt.
Yeah,
you're going to be out of town, right?
I'll be out of town.
You want to go the following weekend?
Yeah. Well, we're going to go the 6th. You want to go? I'm be in Nashville
October?
the 6th.
Of October, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
like 6th, 7th, 8th.
To bring it back for just a second, I'm sorry, guys. The Lincoln Dinner's coming up. That's a Republican event, as well as the Truman Day thing, which is the Democrats' version of the same kind of thing, where that is a tickets paid for. Charlie Kirk's coming for the Lincoln Day thing, so that's a big deal. Anyway,
I don't know who that is.
It's a flex. Let him do it.
It's a flex to me. I'm not friends with Charlie Kirk. I've never met the man. I'd put him on the show if he'd give me the time, but
I was trying to get a reaction.
You win. But that's a tickets paid for event, and that will have all these elected officials there as well. And how does that sit legally? It's that just to bring it back to that. Like
I put it in my calendar. I mean, I work that day, but I'll see if I can get it switched. I mean, fuck it. I mean, what are they gonna do? Escort me out of there?
Oh,
I mean, okay.
Like I said, I don't know how that works.
I mean,
I don't know you when I'm there, so
they'll say it's a public
Jesus
event
Christ.
to this line.
Here's the problem, though. Just don't tell them your full name because they'll start sending you shit. They'll start mailing you stuff. They'll put you on their mailing list. They'll figure you out.
I don't give a fuck about any of that. I really don't. I'm more interested in there's a section of the population that are voted into office that get special treatment, and we as voting citizens will continue to allow that to happen. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a good summation. I mean, I know. I mean, I think there's again, it goes back to the UBI conversation. I think if the reality is it's in the budget, it's just where we're spending it. You know, federally speaking, the budget has it to do a UBI.
The budget had 3 different COVID stimulus packages. Like the fucking economy didn't hit the shitter. Like look at all the money that we fucking spent, and our fucking real estate prices are higher than they've ever been.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me right now?
I'm having a hard time rationalizing that we haven't had any real inflation out of this yet.
We have smart people that are way smarter than me that have sat down and figured this shit out, and there was no way that any of this money was going to allow the fucking economy to hit the fucking shitter. It doesn't matter if you're a D or an R. At the end of the day, they can disagree on some of this petty bullshit that doesn't really fucking matter, but they don't want to fuck the economy up. It doesn't matter whose party you're fucking in.
I agree.
Well, for us real estate, most of the people that would want to buy a house right now and move to a bigger house be like, oh shit, I can't find a bigger house, so the only houses coming for sale are people that are leaving the state.
Which there's not many in Tennessee. Like
They're coming in, actually.
And that's what I'm saying. So like right now, I could, even though my house just appraised for $351, I guarantee I could sell for $450.
I'm sure you can.
Right now.
I don't know. You might be on the end. You might be at that might be. Last I talked to a realtor about it, they were saying that like at around 400 is when it starts normalizing.
Well, even 400.
It's what used to be. It's the houses that used to be like 150, 200 that are going for 250, 3.25. Those are the ones that are the super hot ones that are hard to get. Once you get over like the 400 and 500 range, then it's kind of like.
But what I'm saying is, even at 400, I'd be like, cool. I made all this money off my house. I would have to pay 350 or 400 to find the exact same thing another place. So it doesn't make any sense.
That's why we haven't bought.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're 20,000 underwater. The first 5 years, you might as well just pay rent and save the money because you never know when maybe it'll, like we were talking yesterday or the day before, if it's 10 years when the market corrects itself, okay, but if it's a year, I'd rather just waste the rent money a month.
Right.
As opposed to being underwater.
Yeah, because we were talking about like, for your situation, it's like I go ahead and buy now because it's probably going to stay, but at the same time, it's not impossible that 2-3 years down the road, the market comes back to normal. And you're going to be you're going to have $100,000 in the hole on your house,
right? Or even 50. I mean, even if it's not 100, it's. I mean, look at how many years you can be paying on that till it comes down to the actual appraised price.
Yeah, and it's a weird spot to be in. So
anyway,
I thought I had one more thing that I had on my brain that I wanted to talk about before we called it. Anything? Anybody?
Got nothing.
Jeez, that one died hard.
It's a pretty good topic.
That was fun. Yeah,
you're a lot better when you're not drinking.
Me?
No, you're awake when you're not drinking.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about Seth.
I'm a little hungover from last night. Drank a bunch of Trulies.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Fucking a Truly and a tickle. That's
no shame, suckers. We need to have a healthcare show where we really talk about that one because I'm interested in learning more about that topic. Like this whole rural, killing all the rural hospital things and how that financially makes sense is curious to me. Anyway, everybody else took their headphones off. All right, that was Almost in Agreement this week, everybody. We appreciate everyone for listening. You missed a really good time at the Chatterbox last night. I got hammered and started acting normally again. And
acting normal?
It was a good show. Normally for what you guys are used to when I'm drunk on the show. I'm trying to make your joke for you.
It wasn't a joke. It was reality.
Almost in Agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is almostinagreement.com. There you can find all the available episodes. You can also go to your favorite podcast provider and get us there. While you're at any of these places, like, share, subscribe, do all those things. Help us get the word out. Help us get to 3 regular listeners, at least in AC's opinion. We're going to keep going. I've got Roberto this week. I got one more. I forgot what I'm on the schedule. Nick Capello from District 3 is coming in this week, too. So I've got a couple of more city race interviews this week. I'm going to keep working through those. We'll check in and see what happened at this block party and let you guys know what's going on there. We're Almost in Agreement. Have a good day.